Welcome back to Chaplain House. And today I think I finally get to introduce to you something that we've been working on behind the scenes. And that is developing themes for each of the three second floor bedrooms. The Wilson room is painted. The Traveler room is undergoing its plaster and trim repairs. And the third bedroom is the Botanical Room, which is the one we're working on today. The Botanical Room has garden-inspired elements like brass and wicker. The room will eventually be getting its full garden-inspired makeover, but first we need to select a paint color. So let's do that and put some paint on the wall. Now, the secret to a good paint job is preparation. So the first thing we did was take off the shutters. And we labeled them and stored them safely away so that we can clean them up separately. Next, we primed the whole room with an oil-based primer. We used oil-based primer because the latex paint will not stick well to older lead-based and oil-based paints. It also has the advantage of encapsulating any lead-based paint that is on the surface. Now, while I was priming the walls, Maddie was stripping the paint from this corner guard. We went to Sherwin-Williams and got some color swatches for the colors that we thought we might want to put on the wall and the colors that were in our various mood boards. This was sort of a bi-coastal process as we went to Sherwin-Williams stores in both Pasadena and Wheeling to make sure that we were all looking at the same colors. Looking at swatches on little paint color cards is one thing, but nothing gives you the true sense of the color more than putting it on the wall. And in fact, we like to put it on all four walls to make sure that we catch all of the different light patterns throughout the day. This is actually pretty fun. Just put on some music and start painting all the different colors on the different walls, and we had a good time with it. Maddie decided that painting over the spots with the oil-based primer, as well as cutting in again at the edges, would be time well spent, so I pretty much let her have at it. We spent some time cleaning up and dusting the trim just to make sure that the room was as clean as possible before we began to paint. Now it was time to paint, and here's our final selection. Now tell me, is that what you guessed? Welcome to the Botanical Room, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the color of this room and why we made our choice. Interesting, lots of people ask us or recommend that we use Victorian colors in all of the rooms. However, this is not going to be a museum. This will be a place where people can come and stay, and we can have community events that more has the echoes of history rather than being, as I say, a museum and really being a historical experience or something like that. We want the experience to be luxury and have the elements that, well, for example, one of the things about the Victorian era was the beauty and the extra craftsmanship put into everyday things like hinges and doorknobs, stuff like that. We want to appreciate those and bring those out and deliver to our guests an experience that includes those extra details and that beauty, that luxury, that romance, without being stuck in the past or like living in the past, because really the experience we want people to have about Wheeling and about Chaplain House is that you're not stepping back in time, but participating in the beauty and in the history of the area as it is now. So again, back to the choice in paint colors and things like that. We think that the various rooms, this is the Botanical Room, we also have a Wilson room, and we have a Traveler room, and they have various themes. One of the things that we use as one of our guiding principles for the design and to unify and make a cohesive design for the house and the experience living and staying here is we imagine that these are things that really could have been done by the first owners. So it's a period of time, not just a specific point in time, but a range in time, ranging from the 1880s to the 1940s. And so the elements that we add there are things that could have realistically been added by the original owners. With the extra addition, of course, of modern amenities that just make it convenient to live here and make it and are part of a rehabilitation rather than a strict restoration. For example, we will put a king-size bed in a room. They didn't have king-size beds. In fact, many bedrooms, people slept in separate beds, single beds in 2 bedrooms in many cases. But single beds were common. A larger bed would have been the size of a double, or maybe a queen. But we want to have king-size beds. You can have a king-size bed that looks Victorian or looks Art Deco, looks from a different period, but it's still a beautiful object that in theory could have been added if that was what they did in the day. But for a guest staying in our home now, they may want a king-size bed, and we want them to have the best experience possible. All of the design elements take this philosophy in that you can add something beautiful that is modern and make it a beautiful historic thing as if it were made or used back in the late 19th century or early 20th century. An example of that I see periodically is people in their homes today have a picture frame around their flat screen television, and then when they're not using it to watch a show, or YouTube, they might watch YouTube on it. So it just shows a picture as if it's a painting or a print in a beautiful frame. And this is, I think, sort of the idea of if they had flat screen TVs in 1890, they might have put a beautiful picture frame around it because, again, beautification of everyday things was sort of their jam. And so the vibe we're looking for fits into that. We want to have both a modern vibe and yet a historical vibe. We have one coat of paint. The lilac will be a little bit darker when we put the second coat on. Meanwhile, today, one of the things I'm doing is prepping and then I will be priming the crown molding here. Now, I believe that the crown molding in this room was actually a picture rail that they used as a crown molding, maybe not understanding the difference or something. But at any rate, it's here, and I do have this extra piece, which I'm going to clean up and reattach. And it's one of the interesting things is given the fact that this came off when the plaster was coming off the masonry there, I was able to remove this and see how they attached it originally, which was with some pretty solidly installed masonry nails. And they may have been put on and then these fitted onto them somehow. I'm not sure exactly how they attached it, but it would be quite difficult to pull those out of the wall and virtually impossible without damaging the plaster. So I still have the nails up there, and I will reattach that through some mechanism, probably also using construction adhesive. Anyways, I need to prime the crown molding. We still need to paint the ceiling. And once I prime the crown molding today, Maddie's going to come over. We're going to put a second coat on of the lilac, and then I will cut in the lilac into the crown molding after the crown molding. Please let us know what you think. If you hate the color, or if you love the color, we're happy to hear feedback. It's only paint, and we can always change the color. So when we went through the color options, we were looking at various colors, but we have to consider multiple rooms, and we don't want them to all be the same color. And since they all have a theme, we try and match the color to the theme. And so we've gone through. We looked at several versions of this room on our mood boards. We have a green version and a gold version and a lavender or lilac version. We came up with lilac for the Botanical Room. Now, after the house was split into a duplex, this room was the dining room for the upstairs, and there is what was added as a small kitchenette off the side. One of our plans is to reconfigure that as a conservatory, Victorian looking windows all around it and plants in there, and maybe a small seating or something like that, or maybe just plants. We'd love to hear your opinion. Whether you love something or hate something, we would love to hear about it and keep the conversation going. Thank you so much for watching. Why can't I get this right? The garden room. Well, the garden room, which we're starting today, will have a garden-inspired botanical theme. The botanical room, which we're starting today,